Alexander Kuzmenko is here. Welcome to Finding Voices podcast.
Tom Wheeler.
This is our podcast number 12. I guess it's kind of year-round thing. Now I watch on our first video, it tells me it was made a year ago, so it's a celebration. Maybe
Woo.
Yeah.
Party.
Yeah, maybe we'll call it season 1 or something. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just go on with numbers. Fuck it. Yeah, and we're unrated, so fuck you. I stutter.
I do too.
Yeah, I'm a Maguire graduate, and I'm a graduate of Northridge College Speech Language Pathology under the supervision of Professor Liu. I would totally recommend to go there. Both of them.
Alex, what theme are we talking about today?
Today I thought let's talk about techniques. I was trying to find on YouTube prolongation, cancellation, hit and hold, block release, breathing. They have breathing shit there. All kind of breathing exercises, all the same. They're just called differently. I like Maguire's coastal breathing. It sounds like one of the best names picked.
Why do you think coastal breathing works?
Oh, well, coastal breathing, yeah, it's a psychological technique. It works because it returns your mindset into the room where you learned it. So when you coastal breathe, you in your comfort zone, and on top of that, coastal breathing makes you pause. So when you pause, you have time to formulate, and then you remember things like eye contact, and then you're like, oh, I can do all that now. Why don't I put some hit and hold on shit?
Yeah.
Right? And you pre-plan all the hit and holds, even block releases, cancellations.
So you think fundamentally it's a pausing technique that allows you to think?
Pausing, yes.
Is there anything else to it?
Pausing makes you a communicator as well, because sometimes when people who start talking, they just don't shut up and don't make any pauses and trying to put as many words as they can while they're fluent.
Like they're speaking German.
Yeah.
Speaking one long German word.
Yeah, like nothing against German people.
No, it's just a comment on the language. In my eyes, I've always seen coastal breathing as being very much the summation of lots and lots of, not lots and lots, but lots of different techniques. For one, it's, like Alex just said, it's pausing. But then you also have the element of relaxation, like you're exhaling, you're letting go of all the tension in your chest. It also allows you to project your voice more. That's why in the Maguire program they mention how it's used by opera singers and by people on the stage, because it does allow you to project your voice more. I think it also is something that allows you to have more energy for the next point or breath, or the next moment you speak. And I think it also is very good for the brain, in that when you do a coastal breath, you're flooding your lungs with oxygen more than you usually are, and your brain naturally must get a lot of oxygen from that, and so it's probably very good for you to do it with or without stuttering techniques. And just either way, it's a good thing for you. So it's an all-round, it's a very holistic technique, isn't it? Coastal breathing. I think it ticks all the boxes. But that said, I think its biggest factor is that it's pausing. fundamentally it is the pause that's the biggest thing, and it's the pausing and the timing that are the biggest things.
There is one more thing. Well, you mentioned exaggerating things,
Mm.
but then when we breathe, we know exactly when we should start speaking on top of our
True.
breath, right? So we don't hold our air in lungs. We hold on empty, right? So we hold on empty, and then when we inhale, after we hold on empty, and when you're about to exhale, then we start to speak. So that counteracts the tendency to hold the fuck back.
Mm. Here's an argument against
Okay.
coastal breathing. Why not just do a deep breath, or a breath that isn't as exaggerated or as deep as the coastal breath? Why not just pause? Why not do a shallow breath?
You have to go like mechanical on it, so like physical. So that's all the techniques are physical, but they work on a psychological side as a end game. So that's why we have to give a name to this exercise, so we pay attention to it. Because pausing, we don't know what to do during the pausing. Right? Like think about
Put your
something.
fingers together,
Yeah.
sing a song.
But now we know like what to do. Why don't we breathe? I have a problem with the coastal breathing the way we know it. I don't like the fact that it's being performed through the mouth only, especially inhale.
It doesn't have to be. It
Well,
most often is,
okay.
but it doesn't have to be.
I
I've seen Maguire grads to do it largely through the nose.
Well, I'm talking like basics, you know. Like,
Oh, basically.
so it should be done mouth only, and that's distracting, right? And when you distract yourself from your speaking problem, that makes you fluent. It's kind of psychological trick as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Right?
It is a distraction in that you are thinking more about the breath than you are sometimes how you sound or
Yeah.
rhythm and everything else. That's a very good point. How often do you use coastal breathing?
Well, I've knew it for a decade, so I knew it for a while. And in my case, well, where I learned it, we did it like normal. You inhale in your nose, and you exhale with your mouth.
Okay. And how often did you use it when you learned it? Were you using it a lot? How were you using it?
I was using it. I was using it. I was just pausing more, and I was letting myself breathe. And when we inhale with our mouth only, we don't give any oxygen to our brains.
Really?
Well, we do, you know, but when we inhale with our nose, it's where we get the more brain activity after, you know.
Is that so?
Yeah, hell yeah. So, like, look, all the athletes, look at them. They make themselves inhale with nose.
True.
So more alert, more everything.
Part of running is that you're meant to have very wide nostrils, and apparently
Mhm.
the wider your nostrils are, the better you are at running, because you get more oxygen to
Exactly.
your system.
So if you do coastal breathing every day, all day, well, you will probably collapse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely true. But talk about today. How often do you use the coastal breath today?
Man, I don't think about it at all. I don't pay attention to breathing. Nope. Nope.
No.
No. Sometimes when I really run out of air, like I'll tell myself, Alex, breathe. and then I'll just do inhale and exhale.
Yeah.
Skip a phrase or something,
Yeah. Good point. I personally don't use the coastal breath so much. I do a lot of DD all the time. I coastal breath now and again, but it's more of like well, maybe I should do it here and there. It's less of a, alright, 5 words per breath. It's kind of perhaps here and there might do it. It's kind of peppering. Peppering, I think, is a term used by someone on the Maguire program. I like that. I think that's very much how I think about my techniques. I pepper every sentence with a technique. It's kind of mixing it up all the time. It's like DD, hit and hold. Speaking of hit and hold, that's another technique. Alex, do you use hit and hold a lot?
Hit and hold, yeah, it's prolongation. Well, DD, I wanted to give a disclosure. What DD means, deliberate disfluency, and it's questionable if it's a technique or if it's an exercise. Well, about hit and hold, yeah, prolongation is a beautiful tool, and it's a tool that everyone allows you to use. So you have a trick that you can use, but this trick has two sides to it. Three, and so this first of all, it helps to come out of a block. So we prolong. That makes it physical and mechanical, and but it has a psychological part into it, because when we do prolongation, we sound like we people who stutter, and that is a part of our internal psychological disclosure. So when we do prolongation, it's a part of disclosure. And when you do a disclosure as a disclosure, or advertising your stuttering, it's called. When you say, well, I'm a person who stutter, so I stutter, when you go stutter, hidden hold prolongation makes us open up our stuttering to people. Yeah.
What other techniques?
Well, I say which techniques I currently using,
Okay.
and then you say which techniques you currently use.
Okay.
So, first of all, I make sure that I don't show any facial expressions. No thumb stuck in between teeth, no jaw movements. So I just pay attention. I don't do this shit. Because if I let me, I will fuck this, right? So I make sure I don't do this, and then I use prolongation, cancellation, and eye contact, disclosure, and stuttering on purpose or deliberate disfluency. How many I said? 5 or 6?
Well, 5 or 6, yeah.
So prolongation, cancellation, advertising my stuttering, deliberate disfluency or stuttering on purpose.
Yeah.
And eye contact. So it's 5 with me.
5. I use, I don't really know the number, but I'll find out. I'll have to try list them. I use deep and breathy tone. I use. Doesn't matter. It's okay. There's always another podcast in which you can do that.
Go on.
I use deep and breathy tone, deliberate disfluency. I tend to find no holding back works very well.
Yeah.
That's another one you missed. I find first sound as using deliberate disfluency. I suppose you could say that's like a separate one. I think it's like assertive first sound they call it.
Yes.
I do this thing which I don't know what the word is for it, but if I'm talking and I kind of start stammering, I'll be like blah, and just kind of shake it out to myself like blah, and then I'll still start again. So I think the Broker Brothers
You should stop.
talked about. I love doing this technique. No, but the Broker Brothers, this is what they coined.
Rocker Brothers are good people.
All hail the Broker Brothers. But the Broker Brothers showed us this technique on their podcast with us, which sadly is lost in the sands of time. And
Like tears in the rain.
yeah. Anyway, and what they did was they were showing us how when you block, you should do something radical. And if you're talking to your boss and you start blocking, you just turn to one side and you spit out your block. You go, and then you start talking again. And I didn't really kind of take it seriously, but then I've started kind of doing it almost subconsciously, but not in like that extreme, overt manner of like throwing my head to one side. But I'm like, bleh. I think it's because I kind of speak a bit faster now to people. So that's my 5th technique. I say I use one more, I think, and I'm going to call that one lifestyle techniques. But does that count as a speaking technique? No, it doesn't.
We have to make 2 lists. One we call like techniques,
Yeah.
and the other ones, the other tricks we use.
Yeah, okay.
Because
okay.
I use shitload of tricks.
Okay. So, and then my other speaking technique is making sure I'm talking a lot and talking all the time. If that's a technique, I don't know what it is. But I just say it a lot.
It's a disclosure in a way.
Yeah. Is it disclosure?
Well, if you talk all the time with people and you start and you open about this shit,
Yeah.
it's kind
Suppose
of
having the mentality. So
Yeah.
is the better term. But
So it's a
again,
mindset.
but like that is like part of lifestyle, isn't it? That isn't a speaking technique.
I would say like it's a lifestyle, but maybe it's your lifestyle, maybe it's my lifestyle.
Okay.
But the lifestyle of person who started, it's avoidance,
Okay. True.
right? So all those techniques we do is maybe to fight avoidance.
True. What are your lifestyle techniques and tricks?
Okay, so deep in breath tone is a good one. And then I use my Russian accent. So I can easily stretch words.
Yeah.
I don't really change the words around because I can't
No.
on English. But I use my accent. I can take a longer pause to think about things. Or I can restructure my sentence a few times so I would sound better in it.
Yeah.
And then I can use hey guys, how you doing, like those imitations of things. And I know that it's like there is no terminology for this technique, but I call it like acting.
A bit like like acting or
Yeah.
accent thing.
Exactly. So
It's like an accent, really, isn't it?
impersonation of things.
Impersonation. Yeah.
So for example, I can just start speaking the voice I'm thinking, I'm impersonating, right?
Yeah.
And that changes the whole demeanor, and that would make me fluent.
Yeah.
So that's a trick. What else? I know that if I would break my eye contact, that would make me block. I know that if I would avoid, that would make me block. So the way I approach avoidance, I just target each single one of them. Oh, like I don't want to talk to that person, so you have to go and talk to the person right away. Or like I don't want to go to Starbucks. Is the real reason, or is it my avoidance? So now you have to go and ask for something there. So I've targeted like almost everything, and then like my wife goes ahead of me, and I see that she's going to talk to somebody. So maybe I'll like make my way around and talk to the person first, because I don't like this person, like those kind of, and that's a lifestyle now,
Yeah.
like unavoid things.
There's a wasp behind you.
Fuck, it landed on me now. Fuck.
What's that?
Yeah.
I can see it.
No, fuck it.
I think it's gone.
Anyway,
it's gone.
I heard it landed, but it's okay. What were we talking about?
Yes, I know.
The tricks. Yeah, so accent prolongation is a technique.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and body language. So you think you are not avoidant person, but if you showing like bad body language,
That's a very, very good point.
no one would go talk to you.
That is an exceptionally good point, because I've done something where I've been willing to talk to someone, but I'm quite reserved. I'm quite like, yeah, I can talk like this, and I can use the old technique, but it's very much like words I feel comfortable using technique on. And I'm not like this. I can't like relax and be like, hey guys, you know, how are things going? What's your name? I'll be like, oh hey, you know, what's up? I'm still physically quite tense. I'm still quite.
Right.
But I think it's hard because it's almost more natural than a speaking technique, because I think restraining yourself is a hard one. Like if you want to like force your hands down, you actually feel physically uncomfortable sometimes, maybe. Because you feel to yourself, this isn't like a natural thing. I don't want to do this. And what's the harm in doing this? You might think. But it's like, but I think it comes down to a kind of a holistic way of seeing your stutter. In that your stutter is a kind of like, it's an expressive thing, and it affects all of your behaviours in some shape or form.
Exactly. So, I think stutter is a symptom of a real problem.
Okay.
The real problem is communication disorder.
Yep. Definitely.
So I have problems communicating with people, even though like I'm the most popular guy in the world. But in my head, I always rerun things, and I don't, you know, I have so many irrational fears about communication things.
Yeah.
So I add all those meanings to these situations here and there, and because I add myself all those weights, psychological weights to people, or my boss, or my extra boss, or something.
Yeah.
I start them over them, but it's because I did it to myself. So I have a natural stutter. You know? I repeat things, I type things twice, you know. But those things, when they get noticed by me, they create PTSD, and right, and that it decreases my communication abilities and shit. And as a result of all this internal warfare I'm having in my head, I have problems communicating with people in the right manner. Or maybe I'm too sensitive. You know, hard to say. Like I say no to that, but you know, maybe I am. Maybe I'm in denial about this.
It's hard to tell. It's very vague notion, sensitivity, because everyone has a degree of sensitivity.
Right.
It just kind of, it's more of a relative thing. Like, are you more sensitive than the average person? Probably because of your stutter. But are you originally sensitive? So are you sensitive with or without the stutter? And I suppose my measure for that, and this is just off the top of my head, would be in a Maguire environment, or like a safe space where you can stutter freely and everyone else stutters. Are you still a sensitive person? That's the thing.
Yes.
You are still.
Yeah. I mean, after I become in control of I call in control of my things. Right. I started to notice my behavior changes. It didn't change much. I still don't like being in a crowd of people. I still don't like to talk to none of them.
Yeah.
You know. So it's possible to target stuttering as a part of your personality and change that.
It's true.
But fundamentally, it's probably the longest way to go. The fastest way is to change your personality, and when you change the personality, stuttering just goes.
Mm.
So I think I'm a mix of dependent and histrionic personality.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have to stop being that and to add something more to it.
But how do you change a personality?
Well, I thought that I always wanted to hide my stutter. So I thought, well, that's the key. Like, why? If I want to hide it, if I can unhide it completely, make me maybe that would make me fluent, and I can kind of start to believe in that for a while. If I would completely disclose to the whole wide world,
Mm.
in every possible situation, into every single person, like in person or this way or whatever way. If I can do it to 10,000 people, which is the average amount of people we meet during our lifetime, so
Okay.
if I can speed up this process,
Yep.
you know, 10,000.
Get it out the way.
Yeah.
Get your 10,000 out the way.
Yeah.
And then you can start living life.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do really is to go 10 times to National Stuttering annual conference, because
Oh,
1,000
good.
people come.
Have you ever been to?
Yeah.
Have you been to
I've been on
conference?
a few. Yeah, it was awesome.
Is it good?
That's amazing. The best time.
Really?
The best time ever. Yeah. So what we were talking about? Oh, changing personality is unhiding it. But then, well, it helped a lot. First of all, like it helped tremendously, almost to the complete freaking fluency. But then there is other thing is like stop holding back,
Mm.
and this more text message about his dream.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So Mo, in case you don't know about this, Mo is a friend of ours on the WhatsApp group, and he posted a while ago about how he had a dream in which he thought, in which he dreamt that he wasn't holding back in any of his life situations, and he could feel, life flowing through his veins, felt rejuvenated by the idea of not holding back any of his stuff in life that he was doing. And then AO made a video as a response to that, which I'm sure you can find online. And I think it's a very powerful story, sort of hearing about someone who, even in their sleep, thought that the idea of like not holding back was so freeing. And it is a very freeing idea. And when you first kind of started to like properly think about no holding back, how did it feel? Did you feel like, that's a good idea, or were you a bit skeptical? Russian skepticism strikes again, was it?
Well, this more text message, it moved me. I even called him yesterday. He inspired me to think about it in a way of if I would stop holding back, that would make my life better.
Yeah.
And it most definitely will, right? So the question is why we're holding back, and the answer is that we're adding meaning to things, as already mentioned. But then the question is like, why we doing this shit?
Yeah.
And then the question it's because we are looking for a meaning in life and everything,
Yeah.
and we can't find it,
Yeah.
right? So we start to create our own meanings in life. So that conversation or that person I like him, he's important to me. It's maybe not like, maybe it's just irrational thing completely. Oh, I like this family. It's, like, oh, it's a family dinner. I feel it. I will start it. Like, why would you?
Yeah.
So why are we doing it? The lack of meaning in things, in anything. So if we can answer the question of meaning of life, right?
Easy question. 42.
I can tell you the answer right now.
Yeah.
Would
is that?
you like to know what's the meaning of life?
Please.
42. Kidding. Um, the meaning of life, that there is no fucking meaning. There is no meaning to anything. Tomorrow, meteorite will hit, and the Earth will be non-existent, like it never existed. So there will be no memory of it or no evidence of it ever stayed. So all things that we're doing now, it won't matter.
No.
It won't matter to shits.
But how do you carry that very inspiring philosophy into
Very
an
easy.
intense encounter with your boss
Very
on a
easy.
Monday morning?
Very easy. Like, you think, well,
You smoke weed every
no.
day.
The answer is like, you go to your boss because that meeting will not matter to anything.
Okay.
So why not have a good meeting instead of a bad one?
I hear you, but if you think that everything doesn't have any meaning and no purpose,
Yeah.
isn't that a surefire route to depression?
It's a short route maybe to thoughts of anarchy and stuff. But
also depression.
why?
Well, if humans need two very basic things for kind of general good emotional health, and that's a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, and a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning, I think, at least.
Well, but I think when we don't know what it is, that's depressing.
Yeah.
There's looking, there's finding wrong answers,
Yeah.
and then some people will sell you afterlife and gods, all kind of fucking.
But isn't there? I think with this philosophy, like all philosophies, there's a flaw to it, and I think the flaw is that the reason why we have meaning is because there is a reason why it exists sometimes. So for instance, meaning about it's important that we have a good meeting with our boss, because if I get fired, I will lose my job, I will potentially lose my money, and if I lose my money, I will lose my house, and if I lose my house, become homeless. If I become homeless, I will die on the streets of cold. So basically, it goes all the way back to fear of poverty, and fear of poverty is closely related to fear of death. So basically, it's like a fear response that you think, okay, there lies failure, there's lies pain. If I fail to meet the standards, because I might potentially be fired.
Well, the thing is that you can't predetermine your future.
You
No
can't.
matter how much you try. But look,
But I'm thinking here of the
I see what you're saying.
of the part of the brain that basically says this bad thing will lead to even more bad things.
But you
There,
know, it's
avoid it.
irrational fears, right?
It's an irrational fear, but there is an element of rationality behind it.
Yes.
In that, there is a basis of logic behind it.
You might end up in places after your boss fires you. Yeah. But it won't be necessarily like bad places.
No, sure, but this comes down to probability and whether or not is it a probable outcome. Is it likely that if I get fired, I will end up in a bad place? It depends.
Maybe you
No one
will end
knows.
up in a better place.
Maybe, but you don't know that. It's all about probability.
But you don't know if it's a good thing for you to stay at this job either.
No one knows. No one knows what it's going to be like.
Maybe it's
But you can predict.
the worst thing that can happen to you, and you're trapped there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it is down to probability and whether you think that it's likely.
My point was to prove that it's 50-50 anyway. No
50-50
matter
district.
how much we plan, no matter what outcome of a boss meeting it will be, you might end up in a better place anyway.
You might. Absolutely.
you might end up in the worst place. So, and if this probability is 50-50, which I think we agreed it is.
I'm not so sure.
Well, dude, if you go to a pub and you meet your future wife, you know, if that
That's
never happened, you
very,
know,
very slim.
that's very so likely, especially when you're drunk, dude.
But this comes down to the odds, doesn't it? This all comes down to probability
Which is
and
50-50.
odds. I don't think it's 50-50.
So
Every
well,
scenario is different, isn't it?
anyway, so you think that you can plan for yourself better than just a chance is playing for you?
I think, yeah. I think with certain things. So, for instance, I think it is more likely that I will get into a better position in terms of work if I complete my university degree and a master's degree than if I don't. I might end up being like a millionaire on a yacht somewhere if I don't do that, and I've just become like a cleaner for a bit, and somehow I kind of luckily stumble upon an opportunity. That might happen, but the odds of that happening are a lot slimmer. I think a good example of this might be applied to musicians. Like, a successful musician is like a needle in a haystack. There are so many musicians out there who will make every song they can, use all the work ethic they can, and it's very hard to predict that they'll succeed. Very unlikely that they'll succeed. It's like 1 in a million will get a very success. So it's very much like, but I think in a way that isn't my point. My point is that there are some very predictable outcomes. If you get a first from the highest, most well-respected university in the world, you're likely to get a good job. For example, I'm just being facetious here, but my point is that the odds and how probable something is depends on the scenario, and also they can be costed according to what it was, or what it is.
Stop holding back.
So it's not 50-50, in my opinion. I'm sure there are instances where it is 50-50, but I think that's a bit black and white.
All
I mean,
right.
it literally is the most black and white thing you can say. Black or white, 50-50.
I have an example. Okay, so you go to your boss. You can't lose your job, right?
Yeah.
And you think, well, I have to suck it up. I'm not going to ask for a raise this time. This and this, right? So you go, you have your job, you go home, you hold back. You go there as a Mr. No Holding Back.
Yeah.
And your boss, you guys don't know it, but he might be a nice guy.
Mm.
And he decides for himself, like, look, I like Tom no matter what. If, like, it's about time Tom fucking ask for a fucking raise.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Tom ask for a raise like last year or year before?
Yeah.
So, and then he like, whatever Tom asks, I will give it to him. And you come and you don't ask for it, right? But then Tom stop holding back comes. He asks for a fucking
t-shirt
raise. He talks about stuttering and he's like late to see his girlfriend, like he gets a raise and he gets a check as well.
For free?
Nothing comes for free, but he has more money now to spend on everything.
On the check?
Because he was no holding back.
Mm.
And you counted that as a bad outcome. Because of your irrational fears as a person who has a communication disorder, you think too bad about people than actually better. And you stutter, right? So
you're fucked. Anyway,
so,
back to
meaning
Mo's
of
dreams.
Life. Meaning of yes.
We've already solved the meaning of life. Just then, if you didn't hear it, you can rewind and find exactly what it was in a neat, succinct manner. But back to our point about Mo's dream. So Mo had a dream.
Asked me how to use it, right?
How to use the dream?
No. How to use if he knows the meaning of life, which nothing has meaning.
Nothing is meaning.
The full lack of meanings. How to use it for a speech. you just act like everything has the same outcome no matter what you do,
Okay.
and that equalizes everyone to one big comfort zone.
Okay. So what you're essentially saying is a bit like a Buddhist, a Buddhist philosophy, whereby you kind of you are almost outside of life, and that you're kind of like nothing really matters, and therefore anything that I do will have pretty much the same outcome, in that it'll be nothing,
Yes.
in that all outcomes are zero. So what you're espousing basically is a kind of Buddhist mantra.
The Buddhist thing, yeah, but even Buddhists, they recognize that they have two Buddhas. One is a wooden, not moving Buddha, and the other one is alive, just born Buddha.
Mm.
So you can be a wooden Buddha and know everything and do nothing.
Yeah.
Not enough. You have to be both.
Okay.
You have to leave everything you say, and you have to walk this walk of life with divorces, with being fired, with
Yeah.
being hit by a car and stuff, like all that
It's
would
gonna happen someday. That hit
that
by a
would
car.
make that would make you a real Buddha if you know on top of that shit means nothing,
Mm.
or it means something.
Okay, so that's a useful technique. Back to Mo's dream.
Yeah.
Mo and his lovely dream. So anyway, the response was very positive from Mayo, saying, this is fantastic. What I'd like to ask you, Alex, is have you had any revelatory dreams similar to what Mo experienced? Not necessarily about your stutter, but in your life.
Hell yeah, especially in my stutter. I was on the phone with Ayo, Ruben, and Ramesh,
Mm.
and Eugene was in and out. We were Skyping, and I like when we were talking about stuttering, and I remembered my first time I stuttered.
Yeah.
So that's a big fucking thing.
But was this a dream?
No, dream. Dream, yes.
You dreamt a Skype session. with these
Dream.
guys.
Well, I dream me blocking with people.
But I'm talking about like revelatory dreams where you've woken up and said like, I know what it means now. Ever had that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
What dreams have you had like that?
I woke up like after I was killed. So after I died. In a horrible way, yeah. So
Russian style.
yeah, so I was completely sure that that's it.
Yeah.
That I'm dead, and then you wake up from this shit. You're like, whoa, now it's not all that scary. Now I can actually see that things I was holding on to, like I can take nothing with me, So I shouldn't clinch to this. I shouldn't afraid like going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I don't have this, I don't have that. You'll get it if you get there.
Okay.
If you don't get there, you avoid it and you will regret. And I think with the stuttering we have so many regrets of avoidances.
Yeah.
So maybe we should kind of unavoid now.
Okay.
I don't know.
So that was your revelation, is to not avoid.
Yeah, like waking up after death is the best thing ever. Like, seriously.
You're in heaven.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it is freaking heaven.
Maybe.
Or maybe everything started last Thursday.
Really?
All this is just a planned memory for us to have fun. And then next Thursday it will be a reboot. And we'll be like doing the same thing again right now.
Groundhog
right
Day.
Groundhog Day, yeah.
Well, the Groundhog Week in this instance. So I've had one particularly strong revelatory dream. It wasn't about stuttering. It was about life, really. It was about. It was an instance when I'd been thinking a lot about people working in bartending jobs and jobs in clubs and stuff. And I had a dream where I imagined a woman, a very good-looking woman in her early 20s, who I think was working in a club somewhere in New York, London, one of the international cities. And she was working and working and working, and gradually the dream sped up, and this woman was just working relentlessly. And she was laughing and stuff, and while she was serving her drinks, and she was partying after work finished, and she would go up every morning to the job, and was constantly working this job, loving it. But then it basically stopped, and she left the place, and she had aged by about 35 years, 40 years. And she came out this kind of hideous woman, kind of weathered by age, like her skin was falling off, and she would look very gaunt, very kind of hollow cheeked, and her clothes tatters and all her beauty had been lost. And I thought, and I suppose what I took away from that, my revelation from that dream, was that jobs like that are just kind of temporary, short-term jobs which ultimately leave you a bit hollow, because in 20 years' time, have you progressed in any way, shape or form towards your goal you want to achieve in life, if you want to become X, Y, Z? How I saw it was like a way of, it was someone who killed their time and in the process killed themselves.
Well, because you think about yourself like too high. Look, okay. Well, you're an artist and stuff, so all you think is art things and art career, right? But tomorrow you hit old grandmother with your bicycle.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, grandmother will kick in the bucket, right? And then you go to 5 years in prison.
But what are the chances of that happening? What is the probability of that happening?
25%.
1 in 4.
Yeah.
So, which means, Alex, that over
1 in 4
the next 4 days,
grandmothers will die after you kill them. After you hit them.
Okay. I thought they were about to say that it was a 25% chance happening, because in which case it would be guaranteed that in 4 days' time I'd be in jail.
Well, look, my point was, so today you have dreams and it's okay to dream, but tomorrow your dreams will be completely different. You will dream about like fuck all these problems, fuck everything. All I want is just to surf my planes and go home and read my books.
Like in 1984.
That would be your jail dream, dude, or prison dream.
No, it won't. Because I can say that based on the fact that for the past 15 years of my life I've had a target and it hasn't changed.
What is the target?
The target is to succeed in a profession, be it art or speech therapy degree. Speech therapy
In
more
terms
recent.
of money or in terms of fame?
Well, in terms of my own barometer of success. In that work I want to do. In that it's like work I want to make, or stuff I want to do.
By what age?
By the age of 40.
Yeah, so you'll get there. You can chill. You have extra 2 years to.
No time to
do
waste.
nothing.
There's no time like the present.
You're already on the right track.
No time to chill, in my opinion.
Dude, I can see in the future and. Anyway.
Things always take longer than they think.
So what's your point?
My point is.
Your ego goes in front of you and it stops you to achieving your goals, because like you aiming too high maybe. So why don't you aim low enough?
Because if I aim high, I'll at least hit middle. I don't know what I'm talking about
that's
right now.
bargain with gods, like something.
I don't know. I think we've been rambling a bit.
You see, you don't have a straight goals. You don't know what you want more, a lot of money or a lot of fame.
Neither.
You can't have. Okay.
I don't want fame or money.
So you already are what you want.
No, I'm not.
You already eat. You're already a successful artist.
I'm not a successful artist.
You're good. You have no fame and no money as you asked for.
I didn't
So,
ask for.
so, dude, you succeeded. You already ate.
I'm ambivalent about having fame or money, but the point is that I want to achieve the stuff that I want to achieve. So, for example, I've always wanted to say, I don't really know right now, but I wanted to make a really, really large painting that I feel happy about. For
Let's find
example,
your wall.
yeah, because that can be achieved. And then after I've done that, in theory, I should be happy.
Okay, do you want this painting to stay there or to be memorized? Or can it be like one day, one picture kind of painting? Or
Just a
do
work,
we-
just a work that I'm happy with.
No.
It could take me 1 minute, and if I like the look of it, then I like the look of it, and it's done.
Let's do it. I mean, it's so easy. Okay, and you'll be accomplished artist finally, right?
Who knows?
Hey, shit, you have to be strict with yourself. Like, I do this, I consider myself achieving that goal. Or if you don't set strict rules, you will never achieve it. You'll be like a shitload of money, fame, and you'll be telling yourself, "Oh shit, I wish I went for this master's degree."
Mm.
Like, nothing will make you happy in the future if you can't make yourself happy now about your past. If you have no present, there will be no fucking future. Because in future you would only care about the fucking future, and this whole run after the future, you will never get this middle because you don't know what middle is. You will pass it on and
Yeah.
fuck up at the end,
True. Good point.
right? So you have to put numbers into things. Like, okay, I consider myself being rich on a 5 mil, right? Or I consider being famous when we have a 1,000 subscribers. I don't know. We need 100 subscribers to go live.
How
We
many
have
subscribers do we have now?
43.
43.
Yeah,
In a
including
year's time, we're going to have 100, which means I think in 12 years, in about 10 years' time, Alex, we are
geometric
we are
progression.
going to be able to go live.
No, we just
Hopefully, you'll be there in 10 years to watch
we already
us
lost
go
topic.
live.
Oh, we spoke about techniques. We never showed one.
Okay.
Can you show the coastal breath? How it's done?
I'll be honest with you. I don't think I have properly executed a coastal breath in a year.
Execute it
I
like
can
you...
try.
Oh,
I can try. If I
if you are not
retry the
using it
techniques. Yeah.
in every day, no. We only showing the techniques we use.
Every day. Okay. My coastal breath, so to speak, is more of a deep breath. It's more of like talking like that.
Deep in breath, right?
Yeah, it's just deep breath. It's not a coastal breath. However, if I was to go for one, I'd be like a coastal breath.
Oh, that's exaggeration. Yeah,
That's more of a coastal breath.
exaggeration.
I could feel more of my lungs being pushed out. Than just a deep breath is more of like a midriff, and it fills half my lungs, so to speak.
Exaggeration of deep in breath at all. Okay.
Yeah, but basically that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
What else are you using?
Tricks up my sleeve. Deliberate disfluency. Use that a lot. Use
It's a
deliberate disfluency.
combination of things.
Yeah, I'll be. Yeah, but everything's a combination of things.
No.
Every speaking cycle involves a
No.
combination of things. Yeah, it does.
Well, we can isolate things out of it, but
I know, but
deliberate disfluency by a priori takes at least one exaggerated technique or more, right?
yeah.
So it's a combination of shit, and I'm talking about what it combines. Anyway, deliberate disfluency, tell us about it.
Deliberate disfluency is, in my opinion, a way of
Show us.
reminding yourself you're a stutterer. I think that's the biggest thing for me about deliberate disturbance. That's how I've always interpreted its meaning, is that I am forcing myself to stutter, and by forcing yourself it becomes part of your natural. I'm not saying natural, what is natural really, but it just becomes part of how you speak day to day, and makes you. It's just showing off your stutter, in my opinion.
Basically, it's a part of a disclosure that you're a person who stutter.
Yeah, but most techniques are disclosures, I think.
And on top of that, it helps you to self-actualize yourself as a person
Yeah.
who stutter.
But that's what a disclosure is.
Because you're okay with yourself stuttering,
Yeah,
like
very
you
much
stutter.
so. Very much so. It's just constantly being like, guys, I'm stuttering. You're just always stuttering. Then you're very okay with being a stutterer.
So this thing you do,
Yeah.
what is it? Is it block releases you're doing, or is it like your way of doing shit?
It's just deliberate disfluency.
Deliberate disfluency, right?
It's just deliberate disfluency. There is nothing block release. I'm not releasing air necessarily. Maybe now and again.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's just me just repeating sounds in the way that you go A, B, B, B. It's just like repeating a word without anything added on. It's
So,
nothing else to it.
there are basically two ways of doing deliberate disfluency. One way is a clean way. All you do is just exaggerate the technique, so that on top of you doing deliberate disfluency or stuttering on purpose, and you hallucinations, and
What?
you practice no kidding, and you practice your techniques, right? And then the way you doing it, the way you did it, you just show everyone that you stutter.
I'm telling everyone. There is no intention here for me to hide my stutter.
Right. So okay, let's now talk about this technique. It has no name. Is there techniques that has names that you use?
Oh, what the one that I was using was like a no name.
No name, yes.
Okay.
Which is a part of.
I think that's just deliberate disfluency. I think we're just arguing over semantics now. What things mean.
I just want people to be able to Google
It's deliberate disfluency.
prolongation, and
It's
then you and me
it's
show it.
It is deliberate disfluency. I don't think there is one official deliberate disfluency. This is I am being deliberately disfluent.
There are ways to do it wrong. You can avoid and think that you are doing deliberate disfluency.
Okay, true. Okay.
Avoid eye
I am-
contact.
I am deliberately being disfluent by repeating sounds and syllables.
While maintaining normal eye contact with people, right?
No, because that's separate. I could be
Oh, shit.
blindfolded and I could be doing that.
Okay, so cool. It's another
It's just
level.
about my
Yeah.
mouth, isn't it?
And you're open about it, right? You're open about your stutter. You disclose it. Yeah.
I'm a stutterer. My God.
Right. So you just simplified this deliberate disfluency for yourself. You don't go like ways about it.
No, it's very easy to follow in my opinion.
How about prolongations? Do you use it?
Really? I think I do it more naturally. I think everyone does it anyway. But the technique, prolongation.
Do you have a feared word,
Yes.
which is Guinness?
Used to be Guinness. It's now Get.
Get?
Yes. So
This taxi app?
so for instance, can I get something is a hard one for me to say. Can I get?
So what do you do about it? You just do get, or you go
Kind of, yeah.
get.
I kind of just power through it.
So basically, you avoiding using hit and hold on it and exaggerating
not
on the first
avoiding.
sound.
I'm not avoiding. I'm
Okay.
just forgetting, or I don't think I can do it strong enough to do it.
Exactly. So if you don't do hit and hold on it or prolongation, that's your avoidance, dude. Now you have to on your get. You can't do this g thing you have used to do. Now you have to prolong.
That's an option I can take.
Well, it's not an option for you because you're already avoiding it.
I haven't avoided it.
Well, you don't do prolongation, and so
I just say it stuttering without controlling my stutter.
Oh, but
I just say, can I get? But it's an uncontrolled stutter. I just power through the block.
so basically your technique is pushing through the blocks, right? Like the real one. Yeah.
No technique.
No. It is a technique.
Oh my word.
It's okay
What
now.
isn't a technique then?
No, it's okay now.
Okay, what isn't a technique?
Okay.
Isn't
There
everything
is
a technique by this definition? What isn't a technique?
No. Everything is tricks, but some tricks can be called techniques.
Semantics.
Yeah, well, right. So we avoid all the tricks and we stick to the tricks which we call techniques.
Yeah.
And all those tricks which we call techniques, they somehow mimicking stuttering itself. Like there's a b thing you do. It's actually cancellation you're doing it, and well, you're avoiding prolongations, obviously. Some reasons.
Semantic.
And that's why you have this get problem. Not only because you avoid prolonging it. That's it. Once you start prolonging on the can I get this shit, it won't be a fiat word for you anymore.
Okay, well I'll try it in real life.
Okay. Push through the block. Show us how you do it.
Well,
Push through get block.
for me to give a demonstration of this, I need to actually stutter. So I'm going to say, can I get something? But I'm not going to stutter because I'm anticipating a stutter. Suppose if I was to say gug, that is a word I always struggle on. There, I just push through the block. I just force my way through it.
Good one. Yeah, that's how it's done.
Alex, would you like to give a demonstration of pushing through the block?
Yeah, I'll push through the get. So the way I block, I just block silent block.
Hold on, which words do you struggle on? Which sounds do you struggle on? And can you give a demonstration of you pushing through those sounds?
Good
One
morning,
of those sounds.
for example. I thought was my favorite words once. So I would stuck on good morning. That's pushing through the block. Good morning. That's pushing through the right? That's
It sounds beautiful. It's like, what an accent.
But look, but
Good.
I can make it even longer. Good morning. Yeah,
Good morning,
yeah.
Alex.
And that's deliberate disfluency, right?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't stuck in the block.
Okay, but in my instance just then, I was stuck on a block.
So, so you stuck in the block and you push through it?
Yes.
As an example?
Yes.
For our viewers, nice.
That's
Do
my
it
technique.
again. Do it again.
Gug.
But
Gug is a hard word for me to say.
say it
It's
with
a made up word, but I made it up because I struggle on it.
hit and hold on it.
Gug. Or gug.
No. Gag. Like, don't do it.
Let me do a prolongation.
Gag.
Gug.
Yeah.
Gug. Gug.
If
Gug.
the thing is with the techniques, if you isolate one technique and you use it and abuse it, that becomes a trick, and it stopped working, right? Questionable. I mean, we're debating here.
We are debating. Don't think that's the case. I think again, I think that this is semantics. So, what you call a trick and a technique is very much you say potato, you say potato, I say potato. In my opinion, a technique is a way of managing your stutter. A trick could arguably also be a way of managing your stutter because you say, I'm managing my fluency, I am managing it, so I am becoming more fluent. So a technique or a trick, they're kind of, in my opinion, just the same. I think a trick is based more on avoidance. A technique is without avoidance.
That's the key. You're absolutely right. So the trick is that interferes with our communication process. That's it.
Yes. Good point. Very good point. Yeah.
And the technique that actually improves
Enables us to communicate
Yes.
effectively, and how we want to, I think, is a better one. Yeah.
But this
So it's a
barrier,
proactive.
yes, but this barrier in between of those two, it's a psychological barrier. We move around.
What do you mean? What's between the two?
Between a technique. Between a technique being against the communication and ruining communication, and the techniques being improving it, right? So this line, this borderline between those two, it's actually movable, and it's movable based on your psychological, of your mental interpretation first of all, and then after mental is done, then your psychological interpretation, which is not in words and feelings.
Maybe.
Right? So if that line is movable, we created that line. We don't need all of those techniques. We don't need none of those tricks. If we stop using all of it and we stick not to mechanical or physical, we stick to psychological, that brings us back to stop holding back thing again. Because that's a pure psychological, no techniques, no nothing. All you do is just you do shit without holding back, and that stuff makes you fluent.
Well, who knows if it does make you fluent?
I've tried it, it does.
That's anecdotal evidence.
You have a phone call you don't want to call, you have to call it right now, like right here, like this kind of things. I've done it. I've said yes to things.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have.
So, I mean, yes to things. I'm referring to Yes Man movie with the Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
So I've done a part of that myself. I've been Mr. No Holding Back. I wear the suit. I have a video, I think. Somewhere there is a video of me as a Mr. No Holding Back interviewing the terrorists on Trafalgar Square. I mean, that's how it goes.
Interviewing a terrorist.
Yeah, so
Funny Voices podcast, number 12.
yeah, we're done here.
I think we've reached the end of our tether.
That will be hard times to name this shit.
Yeah, I think we should call this in which Tom and Alex ramble into nothingness, or
I'll make a playlist out of it. Yeah, if you yeah,
we could call it how to listen to, or like
that's our second
sounds
one.
of ambience or something, or
No, it's a
sounds of men talking is a better one. We could use it in like an ambience playlist.
More than 50% of Finding Voices podcast are present right now, so it is Finding Voices podcast.
Yeah, 100%. We are the original we are 2/3 of the original co-founding group. The original co-founders are here, which represents about 66% of our payroll as well.
Yeah. So if you want to support our channel, go to Patreon.
Send me some money in the
fuck
post.
yourself. Yeah.
We can send us some cash in the post.
No.
We don't take bank bank donations because they get tracked.
We don't ask for shit. We don't need nothing. We don't need your fucking money.
Yeah, because
we
need money so we can.
We need 100 subscribers so we can go live.
And when we go live,
we don't give
when we go live on YouTube, that's when everyone stops holding back. That's when the world stops holding back. That's when
Okay.
Who knows what stops holding back? You know, I think we've run out. I think this podcast run its course, and we're going to end it now, aren't we, Alex?
Yeah. Yeah, I miss Eugene. Eugene, come back. Bye for now. Who was here? Final Voices podcast. Yeah,
Alex.
and Tom.
Alexander Konvenko.
Yeah, Tom will.